Okay, all right. I've been hearing some stories about this. I don't normally do this type of thing, but today is one of them days. Might be, I don't know, might be fun. So I have not, this will be my first time seeing it, but I popped into one of the forums and somebody said that they had it open. They were watching it with the comments section open, so I'm curious. I've seen this cat's videos before. I think this is a Nashville dude. He had a very insightful video about touring musicians. And so I'm going to just watch it. I'm going to do some starting and stopping to see what the deal is.
Hey, how you doing?
Hey, how are you? That was kind of loud. Let's see what it's all about. Let's see.
Everybody, it's Bad Brad, and today I've got an incredible interview on the channel. Largely unedited interview with bass legend Jeff Berlin.
Let's go.
Incredible player, incredible educator.
Yeah, he is.
And very outspoken online of his criticism.
Yo, let me know if you can hear the audio. I want to make sure that I didn't mute the system audio. Do you guys have audio for the video?
Of certain players.
You should.
And this is a fascinating interview. I tried to ride the wave. I tried to, pose certain questions. I tried to get to the bottom of his theory and his approach to teaching bass guitar, learning music. All right. I hope you enjoy this one. It's a
Let's go.
great interview, and he is an amazing player, albeit very opinionated.
All right, let's go.
Check it out.
Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
You can hear me okay, right, Brad?
Yes, indeed.
Hi, how are you?
Excellent. How are you doing?
I'm very well, thank you. Can you see me?
I cannot see you yet.
All right, let me take care of this. It's
Woo! I ain't trying to clown. Come on, Jeff. You knew you was gonna be on TV. Listen,
a little.
I'm gonna do some starting and stopping because I think that has to be the thing for the YouTube. So we're not, I don't want to just take my man's video and just, what I'm saying. When I do the posting, I'll link the video. But like I said before, if you're just joining, I saw, some talk about this video in the bass forums, and so I wanted to check it out. I'm going to give you the caveat that I do think Jeff is I've heard his opinion. He's pretty opinionated. I know he has ruffled some feathers. I got no dogs in that race, but I have nothing against Jeff whatsoever. So let that be out there. Let it be known.
Oh, I'm technically very challenged about stuff. So
we all are. It's everything's moving so fast these days, right?
I think so. How are you, man?
Excellent, man. I am very honored to have you here. I've been a huge.
All right, I'm gonna skip through some of this.
To most of the bass, my skin is thick.
Peak of that school, I believe that staff and everybody that was there at that time, it was an incredible time to be there.
I agree.
Yeah. Amazing.
I really appreciate the hang in order to do this, and I'm literally in your hands. People have never asked me questions. I sort of understand the internet and the authority it gives people to come to conclusions as fact, and I'm a very fortunate guy. It's like my skin is thick, and I always consider the source. I know people might not be pleased with the things I share, and so I thought in a real-time thing, if you're willing, I would be open to any of the thoughts that you have, and we could discuss it. But I will be clear, I'm not trying to hurt Victor Wooten. I'm not trying to hurt Steve Bailey. I'm not trying to cause...
I have a feeling that this is going to be spicy.
Harm. I'm trying to counterpoint a particular point of thought regarding bass education that I feel has been a detriment to most of the bass players that follow their educational acumen. So I'm starting this just to break the ice, if it's
Yeah.
okay. Whereby when you love somebody, you can't criticize anything about them. And I worked hard to make clear that I had no wish to refer to the men, or anybody, the people. I had no wish to comment about their art. I never do. And referred only to the
That's
product
a
that
good
they put out
question,
that
Cassis.
people are affected by. So I'm fairly fearless. And
I'm gonna have to like start and stop and start and stop. So you know what I mean, just for the copyright thing. But I want to see if we can get to some meat
The
here
deal. I'm honored to have you here. And
because this is a long video.
and for people that don't know, if you don't know and you've been living under a rock, Jeff Berlin for over 4 decades, renowned, deeply sophisticated harmonic approach. Jeff has played it.
Okay, we're gonna skip through all this.
You know how amazing your ability.
And and again, I do. My man's video will be linked somewhere below this video. I didn't plan this. I just got back from Mickey D's. I don't normally do Mickey D's, but it's been one of those days.
Is and what an incredibly talented player you are.
the names of the people and ask me why I've commented about their educational acumen. Um, this is vital because people don't understand it. So I'll answer your point first, but if I'm curious if this is something that interests you, because for 30 years no one's ever done that.
Yeah.
So it's up to you.
Well, here's the thing, man. I went to Berkeley for a brief period, and then I went to MI, for a period, after that. But between that period, I worked a gig at a theme park, and I met Victor Wooten and his four brothers and all that. And I saw those guys, and the talent and ability that they had. And here's the thing, man. I consider you an extremely talented player. I feel like you have a special ability that maybe is, I don't know if people can really attain unless they have something also within. And I feel like Victor was the same kind of guy. Anything he needed to do, whether it was 1 minute I turn the corner and he's playing Orange Blossoms.
Mondo says, "Learn to read music." Why? I do. I do. I read music very, very well. I do. But why would anyone else need to learn to read music? There's a, I think there's a line there. I think there's a line there. I learned to read music, one, because I wanted to expand my career as a professional bass player. I'm not just a guy who sits here on YouTube and makes videos. I have had a long career as a professional bass player and as a music educator. So that's different for me. For somebody else, reading music may not even be a thing for them. But I'm curious to know your thoughts in the comments. Why learn read music? Let's go.
Special on a fiddle. And he's just, you guys like you are just supremely talented. Now I know you worked hard to get to that point, and you both took very different roads. You both took different paths to get there. And that's where I'm trying to figure out, is there only one path, or are
No,
there multiple paths?
no, there's two paths, and I'll explain it to you in a moment. There's two proven paths, and the proven path is I took the same path as Victor did, and as Steve Bailey did, and incidentally, so did you, and so did every single person, watching our chat. People took the self-taught path. People were involved in a non-instructed self-regard of the instrument, by listening to what we enjoyed, by playing what we liked on the instruments we like, using the strings and the pedals we like. It was all
I'm 100% rocking with him so far. Everything he's saying is, I don't see no problem with that.
self-provided. It all came from here. You too. Me too. In fact, 100%. How's about that statistic? Of all of us that play are self-taught. Where I deviated was due to the instructional background that was given to me. I didn't ask for it. My parents gave it to me. I started on violin and I played from 5 to 15, heard the Beatles, got a bass. I was self-taught ever since. Then I went to Berkeley for 2 semesters in the 70s when the school only taught music. It literally put me on the path that I'm on. I owe my career to that school. And then that followed by playing, which is essentially a self-taught provision. You seek out or are asked to play. There's no rules or setups for it. And at the same time, I continued to study. So there are not many, well, these days there are many, but there's still only two.
Yeah, I don't have a problem with anything he's saying right there. None whatsoever. None whatsoever. I think he's 100% correct. We all start teaching ourselves. No problem. Mondo, as far as expanding your knowledge, absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with that. One of the things about reading music, when I started reading music, I started looking through a lot of text that I had purchased that I couldn't get through on my own. To Jeff's point here, self-teaching. And then I was like somebody who had been incarcerated for a long time. And then I was like, ooh, I could read. So I went to like going. Then I found out that a lot of the stuff that I had purchased was like BS. But yeah, Mondo, I agree with you on that for sure. It certainly doesn't hurt. Reading music doesn't hurt.
That actually have historical precedents, ways to learn. There's only two. So the many ways and everybody's different is a myth. It's a made-up concept.
Whoa, whoa, whoa,
Everybody
whoa, whoa,
different
whoa.
is a myth. It's a made-up concept. Everybody hearing this learn how to read and write the same words, even if some and all by base community reckoning are different. Everybody was different, and everybody yet learned how to read and write. So how did this occur? It's because the method was perfect. It got children to read and write.
I disagree. Well, I agree and disagree with that because everybody is different and the methods could be different. Every one of us knows that 2 plus 2 equals 4, but we were taught 2 plus 2 equals 4 by different people. And I suck at math. Until I encountered math teachers that were able to meet me where I was to teach math, I was garbage. Anyway, let's continue.
And then we as adults do it. So there are only two ways: being self-taught and being taught written music. In the history since
I see what he's saying. I see what he's saying. Maybe take off what I said just now.
Bach up till today.
You can tell it. Bach. You tell them people who they serious about their classical music. Bach. Not like schleps like me. I just say Bach. Back.
Taught and being taught written music. In the history since Bach up till today, there are classical instruments in an orchestra whereby every instrument is taught according to its instrument, practically the same way, using practically the same repertoire and lesson elements. The electric bass has neither a curriculum or a standard, and the excuse is that it's such a young instrument. I don't quite go for that. I think it's because bass teachers have not structured a curriculum. That's all. They didn't do it. And for whatever reason, I did, incidentally. I have a curriculum because I have that background to recognize its importance. So the two ways of being self-taught, playing what you want, how you want, strumming, amps, gear, anything you think of, it's a self-guided idea. Or being taught written music. Since Bach, it was always done that way. So when people say there's many ways to learn, I've often asked, what are those ways? And thus far, no one has provided the answer.
Yeah. I think it's like musical genres though. You
Yes?
could have subgenres of self-taught.
Oh, yeah.
A subgenre would be well, I listened to records and played along to records, or my older brother showed me a few chords,
Mhm.
or you know, so they are subgenres perhaps, and maybe slight different paths, but essentially, like you said, you studied or you were self-taught.
But the subgenres are self-taught genres.
Yeah,
And the
yeah,
what do we call it? Subgenres or subgenres or subgenres. The whole concept is a non-academic instructed manner to achieve an ability and an awareness to play.
Okay, I don't disagree with anything he's saying. I don't disagree with anything that he's saying. But I also understand that when he's talking about yeah, you know, Cassis, I'm shit. You know, sometimes as my channel grows, what's up? I'm born here, Cassis. You know, as my channel grows, I sometimes wonder what people think of me and what I do online. And sometimes I care, and then like most times I don't, um, because I really try not to take what I'm. You know, people who watch YouTube, you know, by and large, by and large, are not coming to YouTube for a lesson for them to go out and like save the world playing bass. They, you know, want to have fun playing the bass. Let me know in the comments of this video, why do you watch YouTube videos, mine included? Why do you come? You know, why do you hang out with me? You know, watch a video to respect. You know what I'm saying? And schools like Berkeley or State University like Cal State where I went. You know, them schools still got to they still got to make money. You know what I mean? That, you know, the whole school thing is a racket anyway, but you know, I'm tracking with him. I'm tracking with him so far.
This is what Hendrix did. This is what all the famous guitarists, the bass players, Jocko, before he learned how to arrange, because he was taught that. All the bass players that anyone can think of, the Jamersons, he was a jazz bassist essentially, but the genre of self-taught involvement, maybe the mute, I don't know. I never heard of mute before. I think it might have been around. It's all a self-taught principle. Therefore, to me, it doesn't require being taught by anybody. And this is precisely what they do at Berkeley, I think. They'll teach metal or funk, or they have a pick class. And I
Now I'm gonna agree with him. Now I'm gonna agree with him there. I'm gonna agree with him there. Ah, that sounds crazy to me. If you were paying to go to school and you were paying somebody to learn how to play with a pick, that would be redonkulous to me. Absolutely nutso.
a Jocko class, all kinds of let's say introductions of classes due to popular.
Word up, Cassis. I appreciate it, man. You know, fun fact. And I'm you know, look, I don't normally I rarely bring up Scott's name. I have nothing but good things to say about Scott's bass lessons. When YouTube first started, it was Marlo DK. I was on here. There was a brother named called himself Funk Star that was on here. That was real dope. He did more play alongs, and Marlo DK was known for his play alongs. I mean, that was in like the Wild Wild West days of YouTube. And then Scott came along, and to see what Scott has built from a dude that was essentially looking like he was playing at his kitchen table, to see what he's built is pretty freaking amazing. It's pretty amazing. Okay, nobody, I'm you know, I don't know the dude, but I'm not gonna stand by anybody that knocks what he has built. Who else was on here? Andre Berry was on. Am I is that right now? I'm trying to think back to the old days of Funk Star from the Netherlands. Yeah, he played a Music Man all the time. Nice guy. He had some stuff on there with Louis Johnson, but I'm always just a little bit giddy when I get my name in the same sentence with Marlo DK. So, anyway, let us proceed.
Following. And in that educational area, to make things broad, it seems to also add to the fact that
Uh-oh, what did I do just now? Holy smokes. Y'all, hold on a second. Hold on, 1 second. I accidentally closed the video. I got to bring the video back up. Hold tight. Coop Bass. I don't know who that was. Dude, what did I do? So busy running my mouth. Hold on. Oh, here we go. We're right in the same spot. We right in the same spot. Let's go.
fact that it is going opposite from the entirety of classical music, which is a narrow principle. And as a narrow principle, maybe everybody arrives at an ability to play. Not swing, not, people compare, well, the classical guys can't improvise. They're not supposed to.
Yeah.
The notion that I think of specifically is to play. And I cannot find a common element. This is the reason that I had mentioned Mr. Wooten, not to cause him harm whatsoever, but to point out that his views are antithetical to learning music. I mean, I don't even think he likes it.
It's about to get spicy.
Antithetical to learning music. I mean, I don't even think he likes it or supports the principles that are adhered to a musician improving. I mean, I remember quotes where they were actually opposite of what most of the music community subscribes to in order to learn how to play better. There's a lot of flaws there. So when you get a world community that is in adoration, to where it is not acceptable to criticize an icon, to where people are furious about it, I mean, there's some other emotional element going on here, because the regard of an educational impact that has not improved anybody needed reporting. So I did it because I have that background.
So the problem that I don't have a problem. He's basically saying that Victor Wooten's approach is, the words he used, antithetical to teaching music. Man, you know what? I think that Vic, and I'm not like a Vic fanboy like that. But I've met Victor Wooten. I've had lunch with Victor Wooten. He's man, I got French fries in this bag, y'all. I told y'all I went to McDonald's. I told y'all. I'm so sorry. DeLuca's a Bay Area dude too. Please. Anyway, first time I've ever eaten fries on a live stream. I'm starving. I think Victor is more of like a philosopher. Vic ain't really the dude you're gonna go to necessarily to learn, smoke on the water. You feel what I'm saying? That's what I think. And again, I think that, like some people have said, you come because I have my approach is, I have always wanted in every video I've always wanted y'all to feel like you are coming and kicking it with me in my living room, right? A lot of y'all don't have no interest in being professional bass players. You know, you want to play some songs. You want to pick up your bass off the rack and you know, and not look at it. You want to play it. When I first started teaching, I've taken lessons with Anthony Wellington. I know Anthony. Got Anthony's number in my phone. Matter of fact, I'm supposed to call him too, check on him, see how he's doing. I haven't talked to him in a while. But being a good player and being a good teacher are different things, right? You could go to somebody and say, "Oh, they play real good," and they're not a good teacher, right? Being a good player and good teacher don't always live in the same house. Sometimes they do, but anyway, there was this period where I was so excited about all the things that I was learning, and I didn't really know how to teach, and I was like going way over the heads of my students. So it's a balance, man.
So when people do
I
get
think.
upset, it's not upset necessarily due to the comments that I make, but that I made them about a guy who is absolutely considered not supposed to be criticized and is beyond comment. And there is the flaw. It's not necessarily about Mr. Wooten. It's about the people that have literally squelched the improvement of base education that can only benefit them.
Yeah.
So that's my ball rolling to say this. It's not popular. I don't mean harm, but the product, you know what I mean by a product?
Oh, yeah.
The product is flawed.
My question then is like, what does it matter? What does it matter? That would be my question. Why does it matter? Let's say I go on YouTube, and I should say this right now. So, some of y'all, if you don't know, now you know, I have started my own membership site, right? Because I can't do everything on YouTube. I got bills to pay, and stuff like that. I can't do everything for free. And that's just keeping it a buck. Just keeping it 100. So, Groove School, you can find it at grooveschool.co or tedtalksbase.net. $9.99 a month. I'm gonna put it in the chat. But I am working on right now that I'm hoping to get out in May a flagship course, my flagship course that's gonna help some people play bass. My audience play bass. Stop guessing. Stop. You know what I mean? Now, I was doing some research on a lesson for a song that because I believe that popular music, every song teaches you something. So anyway, I'm looking and I see 5 or 6 tutorials on this particular tune. And I watched a couple of them and I'm like, well, I wouldn't do it that way. That's the way I would do it. But what would I look like if I go on that video and comment on it? And I've had people, and sometimes I think they be covert, undercover fake profiles or whatever, comment under some of my videos. And the comments are kind of lead me to believe that that person might be a teacher or a wannabe teacher or somebody or whatever. And my thing is like, hey, keep it pushing. Why are you even here? What does it matter to you? You know what I mean? Did I smack your mother? Cassis, you gonna make me come to your house. You gonna make me come out to the south of France. And we gonna Put on the boxing glove, run it by Jeff Berlin. I will not. Let's go. You made me lose my place.
If people seek instruction, they are seeking to play better. As far as every post that I've ever read, no one has reported playing better. That means something in the product is flawed. That's all. The
Yeah.
product.
Hey, Ryan Miller. What's up? Ryan Miller's a badass. Mondo, come get with me, man. Follow that link, bro. Because we got some theory stuff in there as well, but it's not theory that's going to be like arbitrary theory. I don't believe in the arbitrary ass theory. Oh, you in South London. I thought you were in, I don't know why I said fresh. I'm thinking about somebody else.
Is flawed.
I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
And my thing is this, and this is a question that I thought about is I feel like the way it's handled perhaps is actually limiting your career. And not that you
Oh shit. Y'all heard that? He just got him. Got him. And let me stop. I'm being funny, but I like Jeff Berlin. Don't get it twisted. I like Jeff. But I think he's right. I think when you paint with like really broad strokes, people kind of stop fooling with you a little bit.
don't have a successful career, because you do.
Right.
But I feel like it's like me going to Nashville and going, all of these guys can't play and give me a gig. It wouldn't ingratiate myself to getting a gig necessarily.
Right.
That's kind of my question, because I think what you have to say is of great value.
Kasich, you see what he did, huh?
I think what you teach, and I will give a plug right now for your webpage, jeffberlinmusicgroup.com. You've got some great books on there. You've even got a guitar book. I checked it out. I thought I might have to get this guitar book and start going over it a little bit. But I feel like your message needs to be there. I think people need to study your message.
I'm gonna tell y'all something. I'm gonna be a little transparent. I'm gonna be a little bit transparent right now. Y'all ready? Man, Ryan, you know I be watching you, bro. You still smoking, killing them. Listen, I'm gonna be very transparent here. I was at NAMM one time, and that's where I met Jeff Berlin. And I was like, let me, I thought I was going to get me a little mini lesson from Jeff Berlin, right? And my man John Liebman was there filming content for bass players only. And Jeff kind of came with this whole kind of like stock lesson thing that he had in his back pocket. You know how you'll see who's somebody that's not in the bass world that has a thing, and you see them talk about that same thing all the time. They say the same thing all the time. It's because it's like one of their things, right? And I ain't gonna lie. This is no shade to John Liebman either. John Liebman is doing great things. Don't get me wrong. But I had to be like, yo. And I asked him I was like, hey, man, don't put that nowhere. You know what I'm saying? Because it almost was like, in a roundabout way, try to make me look like I didn't know what I was doing. But like everything he threw at me, I did it. You know what I'm saying? And I was like, I think at the time I had just got a degree in music. I was like, I ain't feeling this shit. You know what I mean? But I get that, folk got to make content and all that. I forgot what my point was. Let's keep watching.
Methods, but I also feel like, there are other lessons to be learned. Sometimes you learn valuable lessons that maybe are away from the bass. and maybe you learn what not to do or what not to play. I don't know, man. I'm philosophizing here because it's like I have questions. I don't have any answers.
I might. People that go against the standard of behavior are always going to pay a price. Always. It's never happened that the majority will let people slide if they state things that the majority don't want to hear. I mean, they've said it. I don't want to hear it. We're tired of it. I wrote down a couple of things.
I'm gonna
The
say.
guy said we've
Wait,
been
hold
okay
on, hold on a
with.
second. I'm gonna say something. I'm gonna say something, and if it pisses somebody off, or you get mad, cool. But I'm gonna just call names right now. What he's saying right there is like people get tired of hearing it. Like Reggie Parker. I'm gonna just go on and say it. I'm gonna keep it a buck, right? I used to have a lot of admiration for Reggie Parker. I think Reggie Parker is an amazing talent. Is an amazing talent. And I also feel like as an OG, you know what I mean? As an OG, you can only beat up on the younger generation so much. You can only admonish them so much before they stop caring what you have to say. Where they just like, we done with that. Right? So like the whole, I hadn't planned on saying all this, but whatever. You're gonna do beat me up. You know, the first few videos where you're talking a little trash, not even talking trash, but kind of admonishing some of the behavior of the younger generation of musicians. Okay, cool. But then you build a whole platform on that premise. It's like, yo, that's whack. Nobody cares anymore. Nobody cares what records you played on. Nobody cares what you did. Matter of fact, and I had posted something. I mean, he had posted something. And I figure, especially, can I keep it 100 with y'all? I just want to keep it 100, right? Especially when guys who want to say, talk about manhood and all that. If you post something and somebody challenges your thought, the same way if I post something on social media and somebody challenges my thought, well, number one, I got to realize I put that out into a public sphere, so I should be willing to accept that somebody might have a different opinion, right? But when somebody goes from 0 to block, I'm like, yo, you just told me everything I need to know. The only time you want to hear something is when somebody telling you that you're right. And after a while, Tiny, that's exactly right. You look at a brother now, and I'm like, man, what a shame for you to have lived so long and for you to have so much experience that you can give and so much insight that you could give to other people, but all you want to do is knock them down. Hell, people who know me in real life, I am super opinionated. I am very opinionated. This is my life, so I'm going to just say it. I have low tolerance for bullshit. This weekend, one cat told me, he said, man, when I met you, I kind of took you as a serious dude. Because we were having drinks and kind of, and I said, man, look, I just have low tolerance for bullshit. And he said, man, I could tell that when I first met you. I'm walking in, I'm assessing the situation or whatever. But now I'm relaxed. I know who I'm around. Cool. We can, whatever. Another cat calls me up. He's like, man, he trying to get me to vouch for somebody else. He said, man, you the most honest person I know. Tell me about such and such and such. And I told him. He knew I wasn't going to BS him, right? And I also like guitar players. They come to the gig. You got a 7-string guitar, man. Do you have a Stratocaster? I'm that kind of dude. But especially if I like you, but I'm not going to be beating up on you all the time. And it's not, I think that Jeff Berlin has some really good points. I think they get lost by the broad strokes. by the broad strokes. So when you, because I can't wait for us to get to this whole bit about metronomes, because that's a what I let me stop talking, man. But Reggie Parker though, man, I think it's an utter and complete shame that by and large more people know him as a negative dude than they know him as a positive dude. And I think especially, and I'm going to just keep it 100 again, especially as a black man in the bass space, because the names that you hear of people that look like me, there's not a lot of us in the space. There's not a lot of us in the space. Now, I'm not trying to make this a racial thing. I'm just saying there's not a lot of us in the space. And to have an OG brother in the space would be cool, but not with all that goddamn, see, y'all done made me cuss. Tiny, you made me cuss. God dog it. I didn't mean to press the bell.
Flawed music education for a long time. So when you couple a majority or a group of people okay with flawed methodologies and supporting a bass teacher that, forgive me, has not improved bass playing at all, and also, let's say, by associating it with Steve Bailey, who I think hasn't authored a single harmonic exercise ever, where I had asked online, can people share how they improved? And two guys said that Steve taught me 3 fingers. Now, look, it is necessary to put it on a table, to point out to the people that might be the ones not willing to hear it.
If I were Jeff Berlin, if I were a person like Jeff Berlin, and I know he does this, and like I said, I've met Jeff Berlin, very nice guy, all that. I ain't got nothing against him. But Fleece, now I didn't mean people like me that's left-handed. See, you about to make me cuss again on my own live stream. What did he say? What did he say? What did he say? Cassis, I see you, boy. I see what you doing. If I was Jeff, I would just do my own thing. The internet is vast. Just do your own thing. Stop tripping. Just do your own thing.
That as far as everything that I've looked at, there is no musical improvement going to happen. And frankly, it hasn't happened. And so will I pay a price? You're darn right I'll pay a price, and I have paid a price. People are furious with me, and I appreciate you saying it should be out there. But I've tried all kinds of ways to share it, to make people aware, because the benefits are to them, not to the teachers.
I don't even think, if I had to do it all over again, I would have never went to school for music. That was some ego shit. I would have never went back. I would have never go. If I knew then what I know now, I would have never went to school for music. Now, what comes first, the cart or the horse? Who knows? But I mean, hindsight is 2020, right? Like, technically, everybody in here could teach themselves how to read. Everybody. And then when you take a tool like take something like Tom Play, you could teach yourself how to read. Like, if you went to school and you were just playing the bass, that would be such a monumental waste of money. I kind of know by firsthand experience. You know what I mean?
The house always wins. The house always wins. The schools are going to make money. The teachers are going to be beloved, and people I think I've gotten interacted with people in Europe and in Asia, in South America too, and none have shared how they improved. Just that. How dare you say so? About Mr. Wooten and Mr. Bailey, and you're jealous, and
Yeah.
and the list. Nobody mentions music. It simply never comes up. I'm jealous. I'm envious.
Me too, Chris.
And I have to smile. These
Me
poor
too.
guys, they're literally standing up for poor education. It's not going to affect me. It's going to affect them.
Yeah.
To give people thought. Victor the man is a terrific guy. I'm not being lip service. He's a phenomenal person. His bass playing is unbelievable. Steve Bailey invented the harp bass. I told him this years ago. It's totally original. But if people on planet Earth, in different areas where the bass is taught, want to improve, I'm afraid I got bad news and good news. And the bad news is you're not going to do it or haven't been shown to do it by the lessons available because all the lessons I think that Mr. Wooten teaches are what we all find out by being there anyway. Everybody learns about rhythm section bass playing by being in a rhythm section. It's always been this way until Victor made it a lesson. It's saying, by the way, I want to teach a lesson that when you drive, let me think, make sure you don't hit a tree. That's my lesson. And people applaud me. What a great lesson. Well, honestly, the lesson's been a long, long time around.
Okay. Okay. Let's talk about this. So, Fleece just asked me a question that kind of ties along with this. He says, knowing what you know now, how many opportunities would have passed you by had you not known how to read? A lot. A lot. I'm not saying that I wouldn't have done the school experience, but I wouldn't have been spent so much time in performance, and I would not. For about 6 or 7 years, I was the only black dude that played bass in theaters in the Bay Area. And don't nobody come with no DEI shit, because, whatever you feel about that. I'm saying that because a lot of the brothers didn't read. Not that they couldn't play me under a table, but all things being equal, reading was the thing. Also, having the degree and being able to read, not being able to read, that was a byproduct, but having the degree led me into this, career in music education that lasted over a decade, right? That then morphed into, educational technology. Here's the thing, though. I was a bad student when I was in school. I don't know if that was a bad, I wanted to learn, but I'm talking about grade school, high school, middle school. I was bored. You know what I mean? When I got to college as an adult, like a full grown adult, right? Because I had lived all my life, and not all my, obviously, you know what I'm saying. I had lived all this life and then went to college. Then I was like, oh shit, not only am I learning how to learn, I'm learning how to teach. I'm learning, I'm excited about learning and things like that. So, and around that time, I started TED Talks Bass on YouTube. And the act of starting a YouTube channel, this YouTube channel been around a long time, a long time. I've been on YouTube pretty much since YouTube has been around. And anybody who remembers that first power, man, I look back from videos back in the day and I'm like, oh my God, that is so bad. It's so bad. It's so bad. But it's the act of doing something. I've always kind of been a doer. Like, I want to do that. I don't know how to do that. I don't have a team of any sort, really. I got homies like Fleece and Excellent that help me out with some stuff. But, I got my phone right here. I got a little DSLR right there. I got Ecamm Live. I got some little gear and stuff like that. But, I have a life as a musician outside of YouTube. I have a life outside of music off of YouTube. But all of those things are kind of in the process of creating. You know what I mean? And I learned a lot about, you know what? I've started talking way too much about myself, and that was not my intention. So let's get back to this video.
So to get to the point I want to raise, I don't mean, again, I got to do this through the our little chat. I mean no one harm. I'm trying to advise people that there's a way to learn that they're not getting. And the thought went out of my head, um, that we need to emulate all musicians all over the world that work for their thing. I mean, it's no mystery. So will I lose a career? I won't lose a career. But have I paid a price? I'm not telling people these guys can't play. I'm not going to Nashville and ever been anything other than respectful to everybody. I just want to make clear that I'll lose a career or have people angry by telling them the truth. And if people don't agree, share how people have improved by their playing. It's such a simple thing. I could end this whole thing tonight. Share me where I'm wrong. That's all. That's
well,
it.
here's
Share where you're wrong. What's the benefit of being right? What's the prize for being right? You know what I mean? Like when I'm in arguments with I shouldn't say that. When I've had disagreements with romantic partners, I've been like, look, I don't need to be right. I need to be heard. I don't need to be right. You know what I mean? Like, what's the prize? What are you winning, Jeff?
here's the thing.
Yes.
I'm not a student of Victor Wooten or Steve Bailey or any of those guys. So I can't like speak for them or speak what they teach. I've never been to the camp. I really don't know anything about it, but I can't see the harm
What's up,
in,
Brandon?
let's say somebody completes all of the traditional methods, right? We get all the Jeff Berlin books at jeffberlinmusicgroup.com. We get all the books. We take some private lessons with you if you give private lessons. And we get through all that stuff. And then someone decides, well, I'm going to go do the Victor Wooten base camp. What the heck? Just what the heck? Why, what would be the harm in that? It would be my question.
Well, there's a good question. Do people undertake to attend events or participate in gatherings and pay money for it because there's no harm?
Well, you go to get some benefit.
Bingo. Now we're on I would say, a legitimate path of discussion. What would be the benefits?
Well, I believe the benefits would be learning a different perspective, maybe some different concepts that maybe are a little more abstract than reading music or chord tones or different things.
I'm gonna talk about this right now. And also, I'm gonna show you. I need to get back into this book. Cassis, I want to come back to it real quick. I'm digging into this book, Why You Suck at Bass, and I put it down for a second. I saw Victor Wooten post this a while ago. First of all, I wish that I would have taken the opportunity to go to more of Victor's stuff. I know people that did. You guys may not know that Ariane Cap is a friend of mine. Also, from the Bay. Well, I know her from the Bay Area, but I remember going to a camp out in Saratoga in the early 2000s. I met a guy just recently who told me, and I'm not gonna call his name, and I'm not saying this to embarrass him or anything, but Jeff says here, what's the benefit? The benefit is that you get to play with other people. The electric bass guitar is a hard. It's not like guitar or piano. Piano or guitar, you can get, excuse me, you can get gratification a lot quicker when you hear two or more notes at the same time. The bass guitar isn't really like that because of the nature of the instrument. So to really get the the gist of it, you got to have some context, in my experience and my opinion. Now, damn it, somebody said something. Yeah, I mean, I was gonna say that I met this cat just recently. I said, been taking lessons for 5 years. He been taking lessons for 5 years. Okay, but he ain't playing with nobody. That's a problem. And in my opinion, a little bit criminal. You know what I mean? My philosophy as a teacher, teaching private lessons, I should be teaching you into teaching yourself. I shouldn't be trying to retire off you. You know what I mean? I'm going to teach you how to teach yourself. Tiny, your point. A major scale is a major scale. Somebody going to teach you the major scale, and you're not going to get it. Somebody else is going to teach you the major scale. Boom, it's going to open up for you. Right? Everybody in this chat right now has seen a Scott Devine video, SBL video. Right? And again, I say it again for the record. Man, SBL is a giant. Can't nobody be mad at what they're doing at all. But I know that SBL doesn't work for everybody. A lot of people know me. I don't work for everybody. I'm not everybody's cup of tea. And I'm okay with that. Let us proceed.
Here's the thing. You don't know what somebody can teach you until you take a lesson. And we've all done that, right? You've gone.
Ain't that what I just said?
On and well, I have. I've taken here. I'll give you an example.
Hold on, Jeff. How you gonna disagree with that, homie?
Can teach you, reading music or chord tones or different things. Here's the thing. You don't know what somebody can teach you until you take a lesson. And we've all done that, right? You've gone and well, I have. I've taken here. I'll give you an example. When I was a kid, and I was a little kid taking my first guitar lesson, the guy comes in with the Mel Bay book. He plops the book in front of me. He pulls up Jingle Bells. And so he goes, this is what I want you to work on for next week. So he comes back the next day, and I start playing Jingle Bells. Well, he goes, you're not reading the page. And I'm like, it's Jingle Bells, right?
Mm-hmm.
So he goes home, calls my mom, and says he will never be able to play guitar. And I will not teach him.
Wow.
And this is my issue perhaps with this, is that we're turning people away when we should be guiding them to the instrument.
Could you imagine? Just imagine for a minute. I just want you to imagine. You go outside and you meet a stranger, and that stranger walks up to you and you say, hey, my name is Ted. And they go, A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, K, L, M, N, O, P. Noun, pronoun, verb, adjective. Could you imagine? That would be nuts. That would be nuts. I played a gig, and listen, I'm not advising anybody to do this. I'm not gonna tell y'all what happened, but I'm gonna tell you this. I get to this gig, and everybody on the gig is a good player, right? From different. It was like good play. It was like having 5 fingers and not being able to make a fist, is what it was. And this was one of those Bourbon Street gigs that was supposed to be like 5 hours long, long night. So the first, and it was the person that put the gig together was kind of green or whatever. And so she keep looking at me to kind of like lead the ship. I'm like, yo, I'm here to play bass, right? Guitar player was skilled guitar player, right? Now, God dog it, y'all got to hear this story. I want you to write this down today. This is a real, true story. The guitar player was skilled, and he obviously knew how to read. You know how I knew he knew how to read? Because he didn't know not one song he could just pull out his ass. He had to look up a chart for every last one of them. Singer called Sweet Thing. and he had to pull up a chart for it. I was like, yo, we can't do this all night. It's gonna be a long night. We 30 minutes into the first hour. We got 4 more to go. We not gonna do this all night. So there's what my point is. I think that's what this brother's point is as well. I don't even know the channel, but I'm gonna link it. I'm gonna link it below. But that's his point too.
And maybe guiding them towards your lessons. It certainly took a toll on me as far as the next person I went to learn from. I didn't want to hear any more single note stuff because I was already told I couldn't do that.
Mm-hmm.
May I?
Yes.
I hear your point 100%. And this is sort of one example of why I think a lot of guys shouldn't teach. He did a terrible job and what he did to you. You mentioned perspectives. You mentioned other options. Forgive me. You're not sharing with me what those perspectives are and what those options are. The idea that something can't cause harm seems not a wise choice to attend. I can't. If you go to a Spanish class, I speak Spanish. I don't know if you knew. And my very first class was in LA City College. And when I got there, music is a language, people seem to agree. When I got there and I learned the Spanish language, it was jingle bells. Yo voy a la playa. Tú vas a la playa. Nosotros vamos a la playa. And I'll probably be on firm ground when I say that nobody took a Spanish class thinking, well, it can't do any harm and I can get perspectives. Not sure what those perspectives are, but I can get perspectives. Essentially, in the classes taught in city colleges, essentially, I can't say all of them because I don't know, but people attend schools for a specific goal to accomplish. In that is the academic. That's the academic element, that we pay money to go to this so that when I leave, I have a perfect understanding or near perfect understanding of the mechanical thing that I was trying to learn. I wanted to learn, I was asked to learn in my college courses, let's say trigonometry, computer repair, even arts like ballet and dance are specific and goal-oriented to the detail of pointing your toe. It is specific and absolutely like that. But if I may, in the reporting of base camps and base classes and base teachers, the concept seems to be maybe I can get something. And if I'm right, if I've interpreted this correctly, I'll give an answer. I did some online. I said people that went to the camps, different camp, because there was a couple of events coming on. And I said, tell me what you learned. What did you learn? How did your bass playing become improved just from these experiences? The answer was nobody could tell me.
And I think that, and I think what a lot of the issue that a lot of people have is, why can't you just do your thing without worrying about what somebody else did or what somebody else taught? Why can't you just do your thing? There's another, I'm not going to call his name, but there's another person on YouTube, and I could be internalizing this. I could completely be internalizing this, and that would be my problem. That would be my weight to carry. But I saw one of their videos one time, and they did a call out, and I kind of thought it was something, I kind of thought that it was kind of pointed at me a little bit. I'm a human being. I got in my feelings for a second. Of course, I didn't say anything about it. But then also, as I'm saying right now, like, that's if somebody says something, you know, I like to say, listen, if the shoe don't fit, don't pull out a shoehorn. You know what I mean? So I might have pulled out a shoehorn and tried to make the shoe fit. But it was still a turnoff for me. It was still a turnoff for me as a person that I had some respect for, because I feel like you can do your own thing without digging into somebody else's stuff. You ain't got to talk about nobody. Just do your own thing. You know, sometimes you might give an example or something like that, but I mean, it really depends on how you do that. I think you can do your own thing without knocking somebody else's.
And since my thinking is this narrow, it's only this. It isn't the broadness of art and the joy of experimenting, which again Hendrix did and everybody does. My thing is this specific, and if from the reports of camps and reports of Berkeley classes, teaching metal, teaching picking, I'm asking people, what did you learn? Especially since people at Berkeley are career oriented. I think that people go to learn a career. What did you learn that would forge your career? And what did you learn at the camp that gave you a perspective of bass playing that you didn't have? And people couldn't answer. They or wouldn't answer. Nobody said.
Okay, so then what would it be that if you studied, you know, X method, Samandal, etudes, and you could play a bunch of etudes out the wazoo, but you can't go to the blues jam. Some people that go to the camp just want to be able to play at the blues jam. That's what they want to do. How can you get them from there to there? You know what I mean? It's like hamburgers. And this is what I need to remind myself, because I'm going to be transparent with y'all on here too. Sometimes I get a little, you know, I'm human. I get a little sensitive sometimes, you know what I'm saying? And I be like, man, you know what, this person's got, you know, they got that set up with the, you know, the nice camera, and, you know, they got whatever. They got a team or whatever. And I'm like, man, you know what? You know who got hamburgers? McDonald's got hamburgers. You know who else has hamburgers? Burger King got hamburgers. And then there's a mom and pop spot that got hamburgers. And sometimes they all on the same street, but they all hamburgers. Right? They all hamburgers. And we got hamburgers at home too. Come on, Jeff. I ain't in no shade, bruh. But
Said, well, I went home to do this because music begins and ends. Imagine a bass under my hands. Begins and ends here. This is it. The presentation of our art is what we think of. The experience with other people is what we do with fingers on an instrument. I'm not hawking my music. Hawking. I'm not hawking my music because, frankly, nothing that I share is originated with me.
Huh.
Literally everything I shared in this little chat came out of classical and jazz education. That's how it's done. It's just not how it's done in the bass world, electric bass world, because, forgive me, bass players are trusting people that have not improved their bass playing. The reason I conclude that is because nobody has ever said how their bass playing is improved. That is a heck of a gap, my friends. So,
okay, Cassis just said, was it Cassis? Just said, it can be difficult for students, learners to articulate what they've improved. Yeah, it can be. It can be. I would also say, you know, I was thinking about this. Y'all know, those of y'all who know me, I hate tab. I hate tablature. But I know people like it. And so then I ride this wave of like, do I do tab or do I not do tab? And I was talking to somebody about it the other day. When I look at my YouTube analytics, number one, a lot of people watch videos on their phone. Most of the experienced readers that I know, they're not looking on YouTube for videos by and large, right? And if they are readers, they have the skill set to be able to learn that on their own, by ear, whatever. They're not gonna do that, right? So as a one-person team, I'm gonna do the free video, I'm gonna do the research, I'm gonna produce the video, I'm gonna edit the video all by myself. And then I'm gonna produce a PDF and tab and put tab on the screen and all of that stuff. I don't think that I don't think that the viewer is getting any, but they're not getting the benefit they think they're getting out of that, right? I mean, there's still self work that needs to happen. Like I'm always amused when I get a comment, especially on a video that's like hella years old, about how it was too fast or something, and I'm like, damn, you got a free video, you got a free video that you could rewind ad nauseum. There's still that self work, but I think all this stuff goes hand in hand. All this stuff goes hand in hand.
If people don't like what I'm saying, answer the question to yourselves or to me and trust that my intention is to point something out so that people can benefit from it down the road. But do you have any thoughts about that, Brad?
Well, like I said,
You have any thoughts about that, Brad? Huh? Huh? Brad? What you got to say about that, Brad?
I can't comment on somebody's teaching methods that I've never, studied with, but
About the broad sense
but I can say, like, you could take. I don't know if you're familiar with Tosin Abasi. Are you familiar with
Brad is so diplomatic. He is so bravo. Bravo, sir.
him?
Yeah, you know how? Because my grandson was named after him. My son was
Wow.
a huge System of a Down fan, and he named his son Tosin.
Wow. I guess Tosin studied with Victor's brother and learned some of the techniques. The thumb, Tosin plays guitar, and so they do slapping and stuff on the guitar, and that was something that he got from him, learned some techniques, and now Tosin does that stuff, in his own way, in Animals as Leaders or whatever that band. I don't listen to that stuff. I'm an old dude. But so I guess, here's the thing, man. I think most students these days don't have maybe the understanding even what they did learn. I don't know if you would have asked me back in 1987, what are you learning at MI?
Mm.
I'm not sure I had the philosophical or the acumen or to really answer that question, and I still think about those lessons today. They were different guys that taught me. Guys like Les Wise. I'm sure you remember Les.
Very well.
And he was one of my favorite teachers, and he would teach things like targeting, targeting chord tones, and they were just patterns, right? It was essentially like you got this pattern 4-3-2-1 or whatever, and it just kind of opened my mind that okay, I don't have to play this scalular approach when I'm playing over jazz standards like Schroeder's class. Remember Schroeder's class?
Yeah, we were great friends, Carl and I.
Schroeder was great, and in Schroeder's class, you would play a jazz standard, and you had to play eighth notes the entire time as you're weaving through the tonal centers, right? And so that's one thing, but then after a while you start feeling like I sound like I'm playing scales, right? So, having Les Wise go, well, hey, you can target these notes, you can start to sneak in this chromaticism and stuff like that to get to the notes, and it starts to feel, oh, wait a minute, now it's starting to sound like what I'm hearing in my head, or what I'm hearing on a George Benson record, or what I'm hearing when I listen to the jazz guys that I can't figure out how are they doing this, how are they getting these notes.
I agree.
And so these were different approaches.
I agree that this guy Brad is really, really on point. I think he's being very respectful. I see him pushing back a little bit, which is cool, but I see him doing it in a very respectful way. And look, I give Jeff a little bit of shit myself, but Jeff Berlin is not a bad guy. He's not a bad dude. He's an opinionated guy. I certainly wouldn't take his approach, but I don't think he means any harm.
I don't feel like it was it wasn't from a classical approach. It seemed like we are seeing the evolution of bass and guitar. We've seen it in our lifetime. If you know what a guitar solo sounded like in the 50s and then what it sounds like now, it's pretty incredible to hear the progression of what's going on, and different people have carried the torch and sort of taken it where it's at now. And that's my thing is I feel like there's so many people that have contributed to that. You're one of those guys.
They thank you. They have contributed because they were self-taught in their style.
Yeah. But I mean, is what the way Les Wise or Schroeder were teaching, is that considered the same method that you were taught or that you teach? Is that a similar thing or a different thing?
Well, it's similar because jazz education requires sometimes attention to patterns. It requires a regard of a note. You were given, I think, pretty good jazz instruction, the approach note and things of this nature. So I wouldn't critique anybody that uses music as a core and practices music, which you did. So they fulfilled their obligation. They fulfilled it. Um, the reason that their lessons are meaningful is because it was just sort of jazz instruction. Even jazz instruction doesn't come with a manual. But if it is done by using the content of music, the defined content, chord tones, passing tones, scale tones, and all of the jazz literature sort of reduced to class purposes, it's a beautiful thing. Also, you mentioned learning classically. When I say learning classically, what I mean to say is all classical musicians are taught the same way on their instruments. Take an upright bass, and they're taught French bow or German bow. Positions are fairly well the same. The literature is fairly well identical. So what the classical approach that I think that electric bass education should include is the structure of teaching the electric bass and its language. So people, all music is pattern. If you go far enough, and
Yeah.
it's all pattern. So the classical thing is entwined with a work ethic, which I've noticed from. Excuse me, Victor made an interesting comment. He said that
Mm.
I didn't like to practice. Kids don't like to practice; they just like to play. I don't know if you recall it.
Yeah, I saw that, and in fact, in my
Okay. I'm gonna let you finish. I'm gonna let you finish. Wait a minute. We can't do Kanye quotes no more, huh? Before I tap, well, let me tap into that while it's on my mind. A lot of people have been harping on that statement from Victor Wooten, but it's the same way that people harp on his comment about not liking metronomes. It's easy to take those things kind of out of context, but I I think I like to think that it's very clear what Victor meant by that. What I what we all want to play. We all want to play. So again, my approach. You take a song like "Stand by Me." Uh, if an adult comes to me and they want to learn bass and they 40 years old, context is key. I think context is key. They come to me, say, look, we're gonna learn Stand By Me, and Stand By Me, we're gonna turn Stand By Me into an etude. We're gonna take little bits of this and turn it into an etude. And that's what I'm doing over at the Groove School, TEDTalkspace.net. I'm plugging it right now. Go on and sign up for your 10-day free trial. 10-day free trial. I expect to see you over there. I'm coming to your house. I'm not coming to your house. I am building the plane while I'm flying it. Like I said before, I am a one-man team. So, but that's the way I like to do it. Say, by the way, this is what this is. But take my man that's been taking lessons for 5 years. For 5 years. Now, I think that's a teacher problem more than it's a him problem. Well, I don't know that just yet. But I'm just saying context is key. Context is key. Let me hit on something right quick that might be a little controversial, and I don't care. Why would there be any book teaching funk music? I'm about to piss somebody off. Because now I'm not calling any names or anything like that. I'm just look, we live in a capitalist society. It's free market, whatever. Do what you got to do. But where do you think Larry Graham learned how to thump? He didn't learn out of a book, but somebody came behind him and wrote it, tried to write it down, right? And then people try to read that and cool. How many, be honest, how many of y'all are in here right now and you have books that you have bought? You have books that you have bought that you have not gotten past page 5. How many PDFs have you downloaded that that you haven't gotten through? I'm just keeping it a buck, right? Because if you don't know what to do with that, it's like any other shiny object. I'm guilty of it. I've done it too. Oh man, if I buy that thing right there, then that's gonna be the trick. I think you have to learn how to learn, know some, I feel seen and it kind of hurts. Man, I'm just, listen, I'm keeping it 100 with you. I remember getting, the first teacher I had as an adult, right? As an adult, when I went back and I was like, yo, I'm gonna go get me some lessons or whatever. And I didn't know what I didn't know, but I knew I wanted to do better than what I was doing. You know what I mean? And then when I got there, first of all, he was one of them cantankerous ass old dudes that was like, I shouldn't say that. He was cantankerous though. I mean, this dude had a complaint about everything. But what he did though was I learned the 5 positions of a major scale from him. And how many gigs have you had that required you to read charts? Several, many, hundreds, if not thousands. But 9 out of 10 times in my regular daily gig in life, none. I go to the gig. Hey, have you played this? Nope. You know this? Nope. But we gonna know it now. You know what I mean? Like, I am a dyed in the wool, hired gun kind of dude. So what that mean? That means I can, damn near any top 40 gig, you can call me and I'm gonna walk in there and I'm gonna just do it. I'm gonna know 99.9% of everything you call, right? And that's not a brag. That's just like, shit, I've been doing that for a long time. You know what I mean? I used to play in a BB King's all-star band here in New Orleans when when they first opened up, I've done, since I was about 17, 18 years old, just like, you know, I've been in that world. So I didn't learn how to read until I was 35. I didn't get a degree until I was 41. 41. Walked out of a college with a degree in music. And what I was saying before is, had I to do it all over again, I wouldn't have got a degree in music. I'd have minored in music, but I wouldn't have majored in it. Especially not knowing what a liberal arts degree, arts degree is kind of useless in today's time. Although having the degree, how about jazz standards? I know jazz standards, and the ones I don't know, we got iReal Pro. We pull them up, but I don't. Even living here in New Orleans, I don't play. I don't play a ton of jazz. Not that I can't. I'm just not, in that. I'm just not in that world. I'm more in a funk, R&B, blues kind of a world. So anyway, enough about me. Let's get to
Getting ready for this interview, I saw the post and I read your response and I watched, his piece. And in his defense, and like I said, I've never studied with Victor.
It's all right.
But I do know that I talked to his brother about 2 weeks ago in an interview.
Yeah.
And he literally had his brother playing a gig in 2 days. And I was like, what? And so those guys grew up in a way that just was totally different than any of us. I mean, I didn't have a drummer and a bass player and a keyboard player and a sax player to go in my garage with and self-teach or teach each other or any of those things. So I mean, I just shake my head and go, that's a rare thing. And, for that, but, I'm just trying to unravel all this and I don't have any answers. I just have questions.
Well, ask away. I feel I do have answers, only because of my particular weird background, my classical and jazz training. Good fortune.
See, that's the shit I don't like. I like when somebody, one of the most freeing things you could say in especially in today's times is I don't know. I don't know. This interviewer is great. This guy is fantastic. Fantastic.
Of having a family of inspired musicians. I think he was the youngest, or is the youngest.
Yeah, he's the youngest.
Is a brilliant and lovely coincidence of life there that he got into this. But it does allow for a point of regard that what he knows and how he knows it can't apply to anybody else.
Well, that's true.
The thing that I mentioned about how he said he didn't like to practice and children don't want to practice. They just want to play. They don't want to practice playing. I'm paraphrasing it.
Yeah.
There is, I think, a negative here. And the negative is two things. One, adults are not children. Adults have a different physical mind. We've learned to understand what a work ethic is, especially if we've chosen a project to undertake out of the love of that project, the love of music, and that practicing, although people have sort of defended this statement saying, well, he didn't say I shouldn't practice. And I think people are not being honest here when a teacher with a worldwide influence suggests, well, kids don't want to practice, they just want to do it. Yeah, that might be for me too. I don't know a soft synonyms, but the damage that happens from Wooten rhetoric is that it distracts people from the facts of learning. People look toward the art of music, but honestly, don't go far enough to the left. I don't know which way your camera perspective is. So while we want to play, Adults don't learn like children do. And the ironic thing is that in the classical world,
Why not? Why not?
all children learn the same anyway. Practice is vital, and playing is vital, and jamming is vital, and playing with toys and items is vital. But being told that practice, children don't like to do it, was a shock for me.
Children, God damn it, Jeff. Listen, adults are not children. Y'all could start typing in the chat right now. You could type in that you have a career, that you have a spouse, a partner. You know, if you have of a certain age and age and experience, you might have a co-parenting situation going on. You know what I'm talking about. You got things to do. And so if you're given an etude for an etude, listen, I understand what he's talking about. There's the art and then there's the science. There's the art and there's the science. My favorite quote as of late is, I wish I knew no astronomy when stars appear. Or as I told Paulie the sound man when he was trying to tell me why he couldn't give me a certain reverb I wanted, I said, Paulie, I don't want to know how the sausage is made. Knowing what to practice and how to practice helps. But as adults, right? With limited time, you know, y'all remember being a kid when summers lasted forever, and then as you got older, you found out how short summer actually was, right? That's how it's getting for us. You know, you realize how short things are. So you done went and bought that bass, or inherited that bass, or however you acquired a bass, and beat some elderly person upside the head and took their bass. You know who you are. Baseline Project was good. You want to play it. You don't want to theorize about it. You don't, unless it's going to help you to do something. And what I found when I started teaching adult students in my private studio was that, first of all, when I really started to learn how to teach, when somebody comes to my studio and they want to learn, my bass stays on the stand. It stays on the stand until I need to pick it up, right? Some of y'all may have experienced this yourself. You go into life be lifing, exactly. You go into somebody's lesson, and they got their bass, and they shedding, and they practicing, and they doing all the shit. And what's the first thing that happens? You get intimidated, right? Because you're like, well, damn, when will I be able to do that? And then you find out that it's going to be a long time before it could possibly be a long time before you do that, right? So, yeah, you know, in order to get inside of something, you have to know how the sausage is made, right? But I do think that comes at different times for different people, and people learn different ways. People learn. Look, y'all, if y'all have not gone to TED Talks Base and signed up for my groove school and took those, take a chance on me. I'm a one-man team, and I'm building the plane as I fly it. But there's some new stuff going up there, and you can kick it with me and learn bass. I don't know why I did that. You want to play. And so I think adults want to say, hey, how can I get from point A to point B the fastest? If all you could do is, this is the same thing I was saying last week when we were talking about music theory. How much music theory do you need to know? It all depends. But if all you could do is talk about music and not play any, then I don't know about anybody else. But to me, you are of not much good if I call you for a gig. You know, I play on a gig 3 days a week, and both of those keyboard players are fantastic, phenomenal keyboard players, and they know all the shit. But if you just like off the cuff ask them something about theory, they not they're like, they're recalling things that they've just been doing a long time. All right, man, we're gonna get through this video.
It was a shock because people are inevitably going to misunderstand that statement, especially coming from, I guess, somebody considered the best electric bass teacher on earth.
Who said he was the best bass teacher on earth? Ain't nobody said that.
It's these various things that got me to take it on the chin. Come on, people. I know you hate me for this, my public statements, and I'm hoping Victor doesn't misunderstand, but I'm sure I've crossed that line long ago. Music education needs a champion. The truth of learning needs a champion, because people, I'm in touch with a lot of different people who write me, and a lot of teachers agree with me about these things, but they're never going to go public because they're scared to death of public response. They're terrified of it. They know that people are rough out there. I'm not scared at all.
Yeah.
Because I'm willing and open to have people share with me where my mistake is. I'm inviting it. So
the mistake, I think, is painting with such a broad brush. His points are valid. He's got several valid points, but I think context is key.
When people say that I'm arrogant and cruel and I'm vindictive, I know that's just a facade, and people choose either they can't or won't answer a straight question about the thoughts.
That is a G dominant and a minor 7.
That I use to criticize, because music education in the bass needs a champion. That's all. It needs the truth. The things that I go through, let's say, or attempt to share, you won't find a guy like me in any oboe class on earth. You won't find a guy like me in the viola teachings of Juilliard. You won't find a guy like me in the, I would assume, Japanese or Indian teaching of rhythm and the instruments and the instruments of Africa, the instruments of South. You know, there is no outlaw, as I am seen, in any of these things, because there is a traditions. I've researched this before. Traditions that are followed, but the bass, they say it all the time. It's a young instrument, so there's no system. We're still learning, and while we're learning, people worldwide are not playing better. Now, do people love?
Yeah, but there are people that are playing. They're. I mean, let's. Fuck. Here we go. Here we go, man. You know, the internet is the wild, wild west, right? I want to say something so bad. Oh, my God. I've been spending a lot of time on the bass forums lately. And there are some cats that are, you know, the things that get shared. These cats are phenomenal. Phenomenal. And I'm not saying that they can't. I'm not saying that they can't. I'm not saying that they can't. You cannot quote me on this. You cannot say that I'm saying that they can't. But I'm like, man, you know, that 60-second clip is nice, right? Can you play the gig for 3 hours? But then we live in a different world also. Back to Reggie Parker. Man, ain't nobody gonna hire you if you playing all that shit. Bruh, these kids have the internet nowadays. They can make, if they're good enough and savvy enough, they can make money off the internet. They don't need anyone to hire them these days. They don't need to. Am I right or am I wrong? Right? And then I saw a young lady yesterday, and it kind of pissed me off. I ain't gonna lie. Because, first of all, her bass was unplugged. And second of all, she was doing all this like really over sexualized shit. And I was like, okay, so if you pre-recorded that, the time was something that you need to work on. Then did you think you were gonna fool us by not even having the bass plugged in and then doing all this overly sexualized shit? I was just like, just play the bass, man. You know what I mean? But I'm also speaking from a middle-aged man point of view. I'm like, that's the internet. Who cares? You know what I'm saying? But then don't do that. And then also, complain about the patriarchy. Don't do that. Because that's kind of crazy. You know what I'm saying? You put yourself out there to be sexualized and then people do it. Well, that's on you. You know what I'm saying? I work on Bourbon Street and I be watching people, I was looking at these young ladies. There was a whole bunch of them out there. And I said, man, I don't know. You cute and all, but I don't know if I would have bought clothes that I had to just be pulling down like that. You free to do whatever you like, though. You know what I mean? Anyway, I'm tangenting. I'm on some other shit.
Music.
Somebody gonna get mad at me.
And do people want to know the truth about the learning of music? So here's the chopping block. Here's my neck. I could give a bloppity blip because I'm going to do it on the behalf of
Write
people
that down, y'all.
who really want to hear this stuff so that they can weigh two principles and make an informed decision about their musical futures.
Yeah, I get what you're saying, and I don't know that I will 100% acquiesce, but I can't speak for
he's good.
somebody else. And if I haven't studied with somebody, I can't say whether their methods are unsound. Here's the thing, man. I feel like, there's a lot going on in the world now. And I feel that the younger generations maybe don't have the same acumen that maybe your generation had, that maybe parts of my generation had. And we're at a dangerous point now where I can go on my computer after we get off this call, and instead of calling Jeff Berlin to play on my track, I can hit add bass player. I can insert the chord changes on it, and out pops a bass line. Now, it's not going to be as good as Jeff Berlin's bass line.
Or Victor Wooten's bass line.
Or Victor Wooten's bass line, or Bill Wyman's bass line. But it's like
and nobody's gonna give a shit. I was playing on Sunday, and I will play my Marco with the Prince symbol on it, and I've been switching between that and my Mike Law. So the just follow me real quick. The Marco is rosewood and alder body, rosewood neck. The Mike Law is an alder body with a maple neck. So, and I've been playing through an Ampeg 810 cabinet. Yes. Right? Moving a lot of air. And so we play Do I Do. Doom, doom, doom. I have a bunch of solos I've got about 3 or 4 solos in the day. And so by the time we end up playing Do I Do, I'm tired. We usually play it later in the day. And so that'd be sloppy as hell sometimes. Because at this point, I've maybe played that after playing Caribbean Queen, or Close to You by Maxi Priest, and like I'm wore out, right? But then I start thinking about, I'm like changing my tone and stuff. I'm like, ooh, if I just roll this off to the bridge, pick up a little bit, and I'm thinking about the tone or whatever, and like I'm gonna tell you, 99.999% of those people don't care. They don't care. They care. They don't care. Context is key. Because when I'm in that venue, I'm not in a listening room. If I'm playing at the sound room in Oakland That's more of a listening room. Are there listening rooms in your town? Where people, they have some house parties out in the Bay Area where like they got a rule, like in the Deadhead community. They're like, hey, when you come, ain't no yapping, no talking. We listening, right? Those places are few and far between. So what he's saying is kind of what I was like rambling on earlier. Like if you go pay for school, all the base stuff, you could really learn that anywhere within reason. Let's be honest.
We're in a dangerous place right now, and I feel like any way we can get people to pick up an instrument and play at this point, I don't even care if they want to play like I don't know, name the worst bass player on the planet.
Fleet? Nah, I'm kidding. I'm joking. Don't come for me. That was a joke.
I don't know who that is. But if they want to go play like that, like, I don't know, the guy from some terrible band, I feel like.
From the Red Hot Chili Peppers, don't come for me. I'm kidding.
Like, hey, anything to get them to pick up a bass, because eventually, if they want to get better, they're going to come looking at Jeff Berlin, and maybe they'll go over to the, the other side and see what they can get there as well. And I feel like either way,
that's like me saying, I know Josh Fossgreen from Bass Buzz too. I know him too, like in real life. We met. He came over to one of the Zigaboo shows out in Santa Rosa. We was playing at Sweetwater. Mad respect, but what I'm gonna look like saying, oh, you learned that from him? Oh, shit. I'm the one that's got the ticket. That's crazy, bro.
It's a win.
I like this interviewer. This guy is great.
Okay. I'm not a solicitor of musicians. I'm
not a solicitor. Oh, Mr. Berlin. I like Jeff. I think he's well spoken. I just think he's painting with a broad stroke.
Must confess, I don't see people in the art world.
That's exactly what he's saying, Cassis. Is Mr. Berlin saying Mr. Wooten is having a detrimental effect on up-and-coming bands? Essentially, that's what I hear him saying.
I could be wrong because I never really checked it out. Going out and saying, we really want new painters. Or go to any of the arts where, let's say, do a recruitment inducing sort of program, as is done in the bass world. Bass is an instrument, and all instruments are chosen, assuming by adults. We're often given these things without our permission, but an instrument is sought out for the joy that it is supposed to give us. But I can't recall anybody, we're doing a 100-yard or foot race recruitments. I mean, it may happen, I don't know. But so in that, we're in a dangerous time. With respect, I'm a fortunate guy. Do you?
Mondo. Okay, so Mondo says, I'm a 65-year-old bass player and my gig is in a church band. Beautiful. Now, Mondo, I'm going to ask you. I know that you're a proponent of reading. You've said that a couple of times in the chat. I am as well. So what I want to ask you is how much theory do you need in your church band, right? 2, what is your music theory and reading knowledge in comparison to the rest of the people in the band? I spent a lot of time in church as well. I played at a very large church in Castro Valley, California. If you know the Bay Area, there's a church in Castro Valley. If you're on 580, you can see the 3 big crosses. They used to call it neighborhood church, and then everybody called it 3 crosses. Anyway, I played in the night band, the 613 band. It was called 613 because the service started at 613. Same song. You might as well be playing in a bar band. They playing the same songs every Sunday, switching them up or whatever. But I also played in the orchestra They did 3 or 4 large musicals every year. So I did that. And needed to read for that. The amount of theoretical knowledge and reading knowledge I needed for the orchestra, I needed that for the orchestra. I did not need that for the night band. Right? You know.
Recall that people who have a preference for a candidate, if you mention the other candidate, people.
So, Mondo, if you live in the Bay Area, you know exactly the church I'm talking about.
It was like a pheromone to a beehive. People went berserk online when the other candidate or a political party or some
or
such
football team.
Interesting. A football team, people go nuts, man. And the interesting thing is that this intense emotional knee-jerk response is a part of base education and the base world, unless you think like people do.
All right, I'm gonna fast forward this a little bit because I got some other stuff I need to do, but I'm gonna say in all seriousness, I know I've kind of like, you know, had some fun here tonight, but I like Jeff Berlin. I think he's an incredible musician, and I 100%, I do see some of his points. However, I think I've said it quite a bit here. Context is key. Context is key for everything. And so, yeah, man. So Mondo, if I don't know what the vibe is over there now, but I played at that church for a long time. But I think Jeff Berlin, the interviewer, man, the interviewer was really, really spot on. I'm gonna have to subscribe to his channel because I caught another video of his. You know what? So Midnight just jumped in and asked a question. I'm actually going to release a video on this, but I'm going to tell you guys about it right now because I really want to give some thought to this. But as a beginner, one thing I would say is, one, be honest about your skill set, right? Now, 4 questions that I think every person should, 4 questions, I'm going to say it again, 4 questions that you should ask yourself when you are learning anything. How do you move on? How do you know that you've, advanced so you're not practicing the same thing over and over and over again? Can you play it? Can you see it? Can you hear it? Can you explain it on some level? Right? So you're honest about those things that you can do, right? Can you play on some level? And this is going to tie into the next thing, I promise. Can you play on some level? Do you have decent enough technique to get through a handful of tunes or whatever, right? Can you visualize and memorize shapes on your neck, right? Can you hear when you've played a note out of context? Are you able to communicate with other musicians? Now, so the question was, for those of you who missed it, let me put it onto the screen. How can someone learn to play with other people as a beginner? Next thing I would say is check out your friend group. Who do you know that's also playing? Or even if they're not people that you know, can you find meetup groups or whatever? And then take inventory, right? Are you guys all on the same level? Are you kind of there, or are there some people? It's always good to play with people who are better than you, as it were. But then I would say, look, here are 5 songs let's get together and let's learn our parts for 5 songs. We're not trying to go get no gigs and nothing like that. We just want to play together, right? What 5 songs can you guys play together? And then you get together. Now I'm talking about, you ask as a beginner, find other people to play with and play. That's those things, those questions that I ask, they're going to come at different times for different people. But if you're playing bass guitar, man, bass guitar is a weird instrument to learn out of context. Context is key. You got to have some context. To Jeff's point about classical education, there's a great etude book called 30 Etudes. It's a Simondl book. So like if you play a classical instrument like double bass, violin, whatever, if you play double bass, you know the name Simondl, right? Because and Fred Zimmerman, like these are where the Dragonetti, right? These etude, these methods, right? So 30 etudes. So I get what he's saying there. Because there's a Simondl method and there's this method or whatever. So in 30 etudes, for instance, there are 30 etudes. For those who don't know, an etude is a study. Now, they are written in all keys. So the first one is in C, and it teaches you, it's very musical. It is written as it's a piece, right? I performed one of these at a recital, at one of my early recitals, right? But it is written to teach certain things about. I played German bow. So French bow is an overhand thing. German bow is an underhand thing. I did not like playing French bow at all. It hurt the shit out of my hand, so I played German bow, an underhand grip. But 30 etudes, there was, up, down bows, tremolo. It was written for that. And that's why what I do on YouTube and what I do at the Groove School, I'm going to tell y'all again, tedtalksbass.net. You get a 10-day free trial, tedtalksbass.net. What I try to do is take popular music and pull the etudes out of there, right? You want to learn how to thump, or some of y'all call it slap and pop? Shit, man. You got to go to the source. I'm gonna give you an example before I bounce up out of here. The other day on I was playing this little line right here. Now I'm gonna show you something. I hadn't planned on doing this, but I'm gonna show it to you right now for those of you who stuck around. Now peep this. So I'm playing that. And that's a tricky little line. Now, what are the guts of this, right? Oh, hold on a second. Is there anything particular you should work on before playing with other people? You got to meet me at the Groove School. tedtalksbass.net. So check this out. In this line, what do I know? I know that first thing I know is I have a minor pentatonic scale. I got a pluck, I got a thump. Now I'm starting to, basically what I learned by teaching myself was how to teach myself. 1, 2, 3, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. Rhythmically, what does that come on? 1, 2, 3, 4, and up. The groove starts on the of beat 4. So I'm not getting into the whole thing right here, but I'm still learning some stuff out of there. I'm still, and if this is what other music is in there? You know what? This minor pentatonic scale, if I have a minor chord could be a 2, a 3, or a 6 of a major scale. So if this was a 6, then G is the relative minor of B flat major. Ooh, look, I got 2 scales now. Right? You hear Marcus Miller does that all the time. Marcus also tunes his bass. So what I've done, what I suggest you do is start finding out, well, where does this work? How do things work? If I'm in G minor, if I was in something in that doesn't work there. I was playing, we were playing Brick House the other day, and I went like this, and I was teasing my boy. I said, but everybody knows that. But I'm taking the ingredients, I put them in something else. I mean, that's valid. You can do that. Ain't nothing wrong with that, right? That's my point. All right, y'all. I really gotta go, but this has been fun. 2 hours. I don't think I've ever done a live stream this long, but I gotta bounce, y'all. TEDTalkspace.net. Meet me over there at the Groove School, and catch y'all on Flip, man. Peace. 2 fingers.